All right, live here at 4:22, a little bit behind schedule where I wanted to be already today. Here on a Sunday, bringing you the very latest on a massive storm system that really can't be hyped. I mean, this is going to be bad. So um, I'm going to try not to overdo what the storm could do in terms of just looking at these parameters, but just tell you kind of matter of fact what's happening. Because I believe by now everybody is on the same page with the storm being just a major severe weather threat for the area, including tornadoes, straight line winds, flooding, strong winds, heavy rain, um, all that coming through the area. So really we're watching the initial phase of this right now. We'll be going into more of a in-depth scenario over the next few minutes here with the timing of the rainfall and what's going on right now. So let me show you what's happening. This is a look at the storm system. Now we've got the jet stream contours overlaid for you here. You can see that the major dip from this, the heart of the system, is right now only in Dallas, Texas. There is a dry slot that extends all the way up through Arkansas and Missouri. That's more of a concern in the winter with these things busting. Dry air aloft and severe weather can actually increase the severe weather. But regardless, we're going to have lots of moisture, and I don't think that's going to be a big consideration for our area in this part of the area. You can also see that, a second batch here right under the disturbance of severe weather's breaking out with some hail producing severe thunderstorms in Oklahoma. Now, in our area, the clouds have been increasing today. If you were up early enough on this Easter Sunday, happy Easter, by the way, you were able to see some sunshine in between the clouds, but those rain showers are starting to move on into the area, and these will start to solidify into squalls as we go through the next few hours. So by 7:30, 8 o'clock, I do expect it to be rather windy. And already I was looking at some of the observations in the mountains. Winds are gusting up to 18 to 26 miles per hour already. So if you've got any loose items out there that you need to secure, you might ought to do that right now, and at least before you go to bed tonight, because it's going to start to get really windy out there, and that's outside of any thunderstorm activity. There's a lot of moisture on the way too. We'll talk about where there is a flash flood watching effect for the area, but in general, I'm expecting about 2 inches of rain to fall from now through the morning on Monday. You can see kind of one wave, an arm of moisture here coming through South Carolina, the upstate of South Carolina, and the southwestern North Carolina, all the way through Tennessee here, where it's raining just about the entire state of Tennessee. And then as you move your way down here to the south, this is where the wind shear has increased. With more of a westerly component of the loft. We've got tornado warnings in the red. That's a tornado watch in the red there. I believe that's probably a PDS watch, or this was a PDS watch earlier, what the Storm Prediction Center calls a particularly dangerous situation. And I just realized I was not quite live on Instagram yet, but there we go. So Instagrammers, welcome to the discussion. You can see all the watches and warnings, though. Severe thunderstorm warnings are in the yellow. Flash flood warnings are in the green. And you can see the watches there up in the red. Now, the purple boxes are either tornado emergencies or reported tornadoes. So already we've had numerous reports of tornadoes through Louisiana, near Monroe, where we've already had a lot of damage here earlier. They're still getting some showers and thunderstorms. The severe stuff right now is north of Jackson, Mississippi, and this stuff is on the move. It's going to be moving fast. There may be several lines of this that outrun the greatest lift up underneath where the jet stream is. So you may see lines kind of advance out of the zone and then reform under certain areas. That's where we're seeing another redevelopment out here off to the west. For us, we're on the main front edge of this, so our rain showers will be increasing with time. I'll put this back in motion. You can see those clouds are thickening up, and then we transition, and this is kind of a warm front in through here. We transition into a warm and unstable pattern with those thunderstorms moving in our direction. So let me show you where this is going to go. That dip right there that you're seeing across Texas is not going to move east like this. This dip is going to go up toward the Great Lakes like this. So what we're seeing down here across the Gulf Coast is going to stretch out and move across our area late tonight into tomorrow morning. Now, that's not to say that exactly what they're getting right now in Louisiana and Alabama and New Orleans, that's not going to necessarily be exactly what we see tomorrow, but it's the exact same system, and the same winds are going to be from the aloft positions of the jet stream moving in across our area. So what's happening here, these storms are not merging. This is the northern branch of the jet stream. Lots of snow up here. You know, there's a lot going on when you've got snow and then severe weather, but that is spring. But this dip right here is picking up the disturbance out across Texas, and that's going to fetch all that moisture in across our area. Let me show you the water vapor. This is from Penn State, and you can see that system wound up. Now the drier air is showing up there in the brown and the darker colors, and all the moist air, where the air is being lifted, showing up in the brighter colors. Whenever you see kind of a V right there, that's a sign of severe weather. That's upper level diffluence. If I'm air and I've got air above me that's evacuating and splitting apart, then I'm going to rise from below. And so that's what happens here with continuity in the atmosphere. We look at that, but it's just a signature of the strength of this and those individual thunderstorm cells showing up right there across Alabama into Mississippi. This is indeed just a very dangerous situation, kind of a historically rare in terms of how much wind shear we're going to get over the area in Virginia, North Carolina, Tennessee, West Virginia. I understand I've got regional people now, tuning in. So just about all of the area, all the way up to Pennsylvania even, is going to have severe weather from this. I get off track, so I'm looking at my little list here. All right, let me go to our local radar. There we go. I'm still on track, but I made the list. I'm just telling you I'm checking. Here's the radar right now. We've got scattered showers moving in. These have been struggling all day to make it north, but they have done so across the Allegheny Highlands and through southwest Virginia and Franklin County. I'm right there at that cursor. I like to see where I'm at on the map. And by the way, I have sent out your homework for tonight, a blank county map for you to study and know where you're at on the map, so that when I show you, warnings tonight or tomorrow, you'll know where you're at. But you can see the heavier rainfall on off here, and it's scooting on in from the southwest. That'll continue to pick up. And there's already, I think, some flood advisories out, or river flood warnings anyway, out across Tennessee, it looks like right now, where their ground's a little more saturated. But we are going to start to see the rain increase in intensity. It'll become heavy at times, and it will become more in the way of a severe threat, even as early as early tonight, I think. So I'm a little bit concerned about this initial wave, too, that's not over the area now, but that may be moving in from the far reaches of the area from the southwest going out of Tennessee. On my WSV3 program, this is more of a graphic interface, but it does a good job at showing you what's going on. So this one's made a little more toward television, where the other one is a little more accurate for severe weather, or at least designed for that. But they both do about the same thing. This is the same view. You can see those scattered showers across Virginia. Here are the tornado watches again. This is the warm front that we're going to get south of tonight. So the warm front's in the process of moving north. That'll continue to do so. I've also got, once we get in that warm sector, really this area right here is close enough. I don't know if that's a big deal to show you that front, to be honest, because it's probably needs to be updated. It's probably right through South Carolina through Tennessee right now. But either way, I've got the real-time lightning showing up here, and when we talk about tornadoes, the lightning won't be as big a deal. I might get rid of that from time to time, but again, I added that on in addition to my simple alerts that you're starting to get automated in your feed there. So I'd advise you to make sure you can see first where you have followed me. Make sure you see first. Have that checked, and you'll be able to see all the posts, because there's going to be a lot of posting that'll be coming out tonight. But that's all the severe weather, and again, the rain moves in first. Lightning as close as Nashville, and it was in and around Atlanta a little bit earlier, so that gives me an idea of the instability that's moving in. But when I talk about instability, one thing I can do is I can overlay for you. Get the view back out here. I'm going to overlay for you first the winds that are gusty already, and we do have a wind advisory in effect for the entire area, but you can see some of these winds here. I'll get rid of the radar You can see our winds are starting to gust upwards of 25 to 30 miles per hour already. So this is a big low pressure system, and as it draws in the wind around it, it's going to be creating a lot of straight line winds, what we call gradient winds, that are moving in from the south. Mesoanalysis, let's go up to 5,000 feet and look at what's going on right now with the wind. So if I overlay that, you can see this is at 5,000 feet. Our winds at 5,000 feet are already blowing at about 40 miles per hour. 5,000 feet isn't that high off the ground. And so right now, if we were to get any heavy rain, some of that 40 mile per hour wind would be making it down to the ground. That's right now. As you go a little bit farther out here, you can see the winds at 5,000 feet get up to 70 miles per hour, even up to 80 miles per hour here. That's some incredible wind. And so this adds to the tornado potential, but it also adds to the potential of us to get damaging winds even with a heavy rain shower. When you see this much wind coming in at that low level at 5,000 feet, that's going to spell trouble for not only our area, but all up and down the east and the south here. So this is going to be a big problem for us tonight. You can see as we go through Tennessee here, the winds are beginning to increase at 850, and again, that's at about 5,000 feet, upwards of 60 miles per hour just off the surface. And again, any heavy rain brings that down to the ground here. So let me get rid of that real quick. I wish I had a way to set up a sequence. That's the only thing. There's like 100 tabs on this program, but just bear with me here. It's going to be a lot of this over the next 24 hours or so. I'm putting on all of our wind advisories that are up for right now, or wind alerts, I should say. All areas in the brown, that pretty much includes everyone. The software is a little buggy here. I believe just about everybody is under a wind advisory. That's in effect through tomorrow. I think through 4 p.m. is what the Blacksburg office was going to put up. But this is for wind that'll be, again, blowing out of that pressure gradient, coming in right out of the south. Regardless of thunderstorms, regardless of tornadoes, there's going to be a lot of wind, and it'll be blowing at about 20 to 30 miles per hour out of the south. Already it's gusting up to 25 miles per hour, and it will continue to increase throughout the night tonight and tomorrow. We'll probably see some gusts up to 50 miles per hour, and once we get to about 58 miles per hour, that's when we start to see trees break and limbs come off. Now, in the lighter shaded areas, that includes Charlottesville and Harrisonburg, you are under a high wind warning, and that's also into the Greenbrier Valley of West Virginia, where the winds could be even higher, especially on the ridge tops. It's already increasing right now. The valleys will start to get that mixed down after 9 a.m. tomorrow here, and you'll start to see winds gusting up to 60 miles per hour in these lighter colored areas. You can also see that if you're a frequent visitor of Gatlinburg and that area, you know that those downsloping winds that come out of the south, they downslope back off the mountains into the Great Smokies here, and you can get some 60 mile per hour winds there as well. So everything is coming in, and I can overlay for you the winds so you can see everything is coming in out of the south and out of the south-southeast. Any easterly component at the surface, by the way, is adding to the shear that's out there. We actually do have a decent amount of shear over us now, but luckily we don't have a lot of instability. So we'll get rid of the wind. I want to show you also the instability. This is where the air is buoyant. So when we lift the air, is it going to keep rising or is it going to fall? If it falls after you lift it, you just get rain. If it keeps rising, you get thunderstorms, and you can get some, the more lift and buoyancy you have, you can get that severe weather, especially when you combine it with wind shear. So what you're seeing on the glowing areas here, these are all areas that are unstable. You can see how that lines up nicely with our front here. And if you're a follower of the weather, this is just called CAPE. But you've got CAPE values here around 2,000, which is impressive. We've had tornadoes here. CAPE doesn't necessarily equal tornadoes. It's the ability of a thunderstorm to develop. There's lots of other things that go into the thunderstorm developing. You can get tornadoes here if you've got enough wind shear with very little CAPE. You can also get the opposite, very little wind shear and a high amount of CAPE to produce severe weather too. In this case, we're going to have a moderate amount of CAPE moving in, We were thinking maybe earlier, a couple of days ago, we would have very low amounts of this and high wind shear, but now it looks like we're going to have moderate amounts of this in high wind shear. And that especially raises that tornadic concern up for south side and eastern parts of the area as we go through the night tonight, after midnight, and into the morning for Monday. Which you can see there, it's a really good representation of where the instability is right now, and you can see how that lines up with the lightning and all the warnings there on your screen. So that's what the storms are feeding off of, and that will continue to develop farther north as we go into the night tonight. I'm also going to pop on here. There's the CAPE. Let's look at the what we call the Energy Helicity Index, and this takes into account the significant tornado parameter in combination with the CAPE. So where do we have the two things over top of each other? And you can see values here. What we're looking for are values of, say, 1 to 2. We've got values off the charts. We've got values near 7, 7 or 8, 6 to 8 here across Jackson, Mississippi, and the Montgomery, Alabama. So if you have anybody in that part of the world right now, they are getting just starting in Birmingham to see their severe weather, for Birmingham to Huntsville, and again Mobile back toward Jackson. And again, these values will be lifting north as we go through the night tonight, although we are not very unstable at all right now, so we don't have any values over us. This is the air that's coming in. The significant tornado parameter is another thing we look at, and again, very similar readings here. 1 to 2 is significant. You've got values here around 4 or 5, and our values here will be jumping up to even higher than that, it looks like, for the day tomorrow. That's all on WSV3, I believe. Nope, it's not. I wanted to show you some more stuff. See, this is why I make the list. Let's see, we'll go to convective outlooks. I wanted to show you this. This is the Storm Prediction Center outlook that goes through the night tonight and into the day tomorrow. This has updated at 4 o'clock. And one thing I want to note, you can see where all the stuff is right now, the red, the high risk areas. We now have an enhanced risk that has gone up through Johnson City and includes southern Grayson County, south of Galax into Greensboro, almost into Greensboro, and the Winston-Salem goes right up against Mount Airy. This is a significant change because this was back across Asheville, but the thinking is as we go through the night tonight, this outlook is the day one outlook will include tomorrow early in the morning. The clocks do not reset on these outlooks, in other words, until 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. So this takes into account the storms that will be coming in late tonight after midnight. But the slight risk has now been pushed all the way up. This is the initial now from Roanoke and right up against Lynchburg and Covington here, and includes just about all of the area. General thunderstorms as far north as D.C. tonight through the early wee hours before sunrise tomorrow morning. So this is basically through sunrise where we're expecting the severe weather. And this does not equal storm strength. I preach about this sometimes on Twitter. The outlooks are sometimes described as a level 4 out of 5, a level 3 out of 5. I don't agree with saying that, at least out of context, because I think when the average Joe hears level 1 out of 5, you think, okay, that's a weak storm. Or you hear slight risk, that's a weak storm. It's more of the concentration of severe weather. If you can get a tornado in the marginal risk, okay? You can get a tornado in the level 1 out of 5. And if the tornado hits your house, well, it's a level 5 out of 5, right? To you. So this has to do more with the concentration of severe weather. And where it's highest here, you can see it there in the red, and then again, right through Chattanooga, Charlotte, you get the idea. And it'll also be extending up through the Ohio Valley as the system continues to move in. Now within that, you can look at the tornado probabilities. And I want to remind you that normally we have about a 0% chance of a tornado. So you have to normalize some of these values here. In other words, a high potential of a tornado is actually may look like a low percentage, but 2% chance all the way up against Roanoke and Danville, and again, that's noteworthy. And then you get up around 5 to 15% through Charlotte, Columbia, down through the south, and this is for tonight. This is tornado probability tonight. Within 25 miles of any spot, there's a 2% chance of a tornado tonight. Now, in terms of straight line winds or severe weather, severe winds, you can see the probabilities are here, and let's see, there's 15 to to, what's that other number there? 15 to 30% strong severe winds. Now, straight line winds can occur over a larger area, can affect numerous counties, whereas a tornado may only affect a street. So if the straight line winds can end up being one of the biggest stories out of this if we don't see tornadoes. And they'll do some damage too. They can do up to EF3 damage sometimes. So a lot of people see houses destroyed and trees down. They think it had to be a tornado. Well, sometimes it's just straight line winds, and our straight line wind threat is also very high. So this is for tonight, going through sunrise tomorrow. Significant tornado outlook is down to our south. This is where EF2s are possible, and this is for tonight as well. But you can see it's lining up just as, unfortunately, just as advertised here. The SPC's been doing a great job on some of this as well. And our hail probabilities tonight aren't zero. They're fairly low, but any supercell that develops into the morning hours of Monday could put down some very large hail there as well. Now, let me shift you off to day 2 here, and I don't have the probabilistic, but I do have the overall forecast here. And I'll tell you from Appomattox and the Danville, this area right here for tomorrow, this will start at 8 a.m. This outlook does. The weather will be ongoing at 8 a.m. But from Lynchburg to Danville and east through Richmond, Petersburg, Roanoke Rapids, down through Raleigh, Kinston, Greenville, Fayetteville, all the way up against Virginia Beach here, Hampton Roads, and you can see at slight risk goes all the way up almost to Elmira, New York. And you've got the slight risk also down through Roanoke, and then that enhanced risk right now is for tomorrow anyway, eastern North Carolina and South Carolina. There is a very high probability of tornadoes within this orange area. This happens to coincide, this orange area, where there is a 10% chance within 25 miles of any point of a tornado tomorrow, and the EF2 type tornadoes. So nothing like a little spin up or anything. These will be genuine supercells if they develop for the day tomorrow. So those are your SPC headlines for right now. Now I'm going to show you some computer modeling, and then I'm going to eat some Easter dinner with Mom, and then I'll give you another update. The thinking is I'm probably going to try to get to bed by 7 p.m. and sleep till about midnight, and then wake back up at midnight and start the update process. I'm going to have to sleep at some point with all this coming in. But here's our energy helicity index off the rapid update cycle, and this goes through the night tonight. This is at midnight. You can see it starting to increase across Asheville, gets up around Charlotte at midnight. So if you have any plans, down around Charlotte to Asheville or in this area, by midnight, it's probably too late. The storms will be developing and they'll be moving in pretty fast. Now, by the time we go to 4 o'clock in the morning, it starts to increase locally. And again, we're looking at values that could be way up there on the scale. Values of 1 to 2 are significant and are often associated with tornadoes. As you go through the 7, 8 o'clock hour, we get values right in that range between 1.5 and 2.5, upwards of 3 down across Fayetteville here. But even Danville there at 2.5, Martinsville 2.8. Don't get hung up on the exact number, but you do see the trend here. All this moves north. So it's almost a completely different air mass moving in over the next 12 hours, and you'll feel the mugginess outside tomorrow. These dew points are going to go up. That was one other thing I wanted to show you. My dew point right now at the TV station is 57. That may read a little bit high. It was 55 a second ago. This is a measure of how much moisture is in the air, and you're going to feel the mugginess creep up. Look at this as we go through the night tonight. The blue here denotes where we go into a really muggy atmosphere with dew points of 60. That's important because that's going to fuel those thunderstorms and get things going for us here. So as we go through midnight, we get up to 59 or 60 on the dew point. Also overlaid are the red arrows. That's the lifted index. When it's negative, it's red. And the more negative it is, the more buoyant the atmosphere is. And you can see that as the dew points increase, we go all the way up to between 62 and 65 on the dew point here by 6 a.m. tomorrow. So what I want to tell you is that normally we're used to seeing thunderstorms late afternoon, early evening, peak heating of the day. This is a system that is so strong that southerly flow out in advance of it, moving across our area tonight, it's going to warm up tonight and get more in the way of muggy outside, more than likely. And temperatures by morning may be up into the 70s and dew points in the 60s. So don't go to bed thinking that because it's nighttime, the storms are going to weaken. They'll actually get stronger as they get into our area, I think, after midnight, especially after 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and that'll continue all morning long. More than likely, it'll concentrate into a line of supercells or some squalls that'll come through around 7, 8, 9 o'clock. But anywhere between 2 a.m. and noon, you need to be on guard. And again, this continues to show that moist air getting all the way up past DC with dew points well into the 60s, just an incredible storm system. And for meteorology geeks out there, we go to an LI of about -2 or 3, -4. That's fairly good instability too for this. I'll look at those wind speeds at 5,000 feet with you here. And I mentioned there, they'll be moving into Tennessee tonight. The really strong winds will. Okay, but as we go, let's see, this is now, if we go through the next few hours, we're going to start to see our winds at 5,000 feet up around 60 miles per hour. These are in knots, so I have to convert there in my head a little bit. Then by around midnight, we have rapidly strengthening low level winds going up to 70 to 85 miles per hour. This is by 3 o'clock in the morning. Blowing in out of the south. So if we mix half of that down, you're looking at 30 to 40 mile per hour winds. Now, what may happen is we may remain kind of protected at the surface, but the mountain ridges may get a lot of this wind later tonight. But as we go through the night, as it continues to move in, the moisture continues to move in, and the precipitation gets heavier, we're going to see these stronger winds start to get down to the ground, and especially right along the front, right along the area of storms tomorrow morning. This is going to get mixed down, and it's going to cause a lot of damage. You need to be prepared to lose power. You need to be prepared to take shelter. If you don't have a basement, you need to find a place with a basement and probably get there before you go to bed tonight. I would advise you to do that. If you've got a friend or a family member that you can stay with and still practice the social distancing and have the Lysol in hand, but also take your shelter there as well. If you've got football helmets, anything that will protect you in a tornado, I would advise you to have that handy as well. And I'll be sharing out some stuff where to go when a tornado warning is issued. This isn't now though. This is tomorrow early in the morning. But you can see those 850 millibar winds there at 5,000 feet continue very strong into the morning, upwards of hurricane force out of the south, right above our heads. And again, some of that's going to mix down to the ground. Interestingly enough, the front itself is right here tomorrow mid-morning. Behind it, the winds are actually weaker, but still rather strong. But the strongest fetch of wind is ahead of the cold front, and that's adding to all of the messiness out there in terms of the potential for everything. I wanted to show you the significant tornado parameter. This is again off the RAP, not the NAM. We've got a little hint of it coming in by 8 o'clock, but so I can't rule out a strong gusty storm, but I don't think this will be much. There's a lot of wind shear there, and just enough cape is what's adding to that number. Midnight tonight, here comes your significant tornado parameter. Okay. Up around Johnson City, really south of there through Asheville. Asheville to Charlotte by midnight tonight. And then as we go through 3, 4 in the morning, a lot of the area may not see anything from Lynchburg to Danville just yet, but the mountains will start to see some of this. Even in Wytheville, and I think the Mountain Empire, you're going to have to worry about this as well, moving in overnight tonight. And then this is centered on 8 a.m. tomorrow, you've got values of 6.2 over Franklin County. Now, again, we don't get too exact here, but just in general, you've got 7.1 Martinsville. Get up into the highlands, you're still looking at 5. You can get, I mean, again, damaging tornadoes occur with values of 1 to 2. It doesn't mean that the tornadoes would be 7 times more severe, but the value is 7 times as high, and that yields the potential for that much more potential for the storms to spin and produce significant tornadoes, long tracked supercells, the type that do damage. We don't have a surface front draped over the area for this to spin up against, but these are just incredible numbers. And down across North Carolina, you're looking at values around 9 or 10. 9 or 10. It's not a 10-point scale. It goes above that, actually, I believe. But you're getting up to the top of the plotted scale here at 9.7 around Asheboro, North Carolina tomorrow at 8 a.m. And most of us around 8 will be getting this bad weather. And it moves up to 10 and a little bit above 10 around Raleigh. This will shift over to Raleigh and Richmond by mid-morning. By 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, by lunchtime, it'll be in eastern North Carolina, and we'll start to clear out from west to east there. So that's a look at what's going on there. Also, there's going to be a lot of rainfall coming in. There's a flash flood watch for the southwest counties here. And let's see, I'll show you right here on the Weather Service page where that is. So I don't want to ignore the fact that we're expecting about 2 inches of rain. So isolated amounts near the Blue Ridge could get about 4 inches of rain, 3 or 4 inches. Floyd County, Patrick County, Grayson County, Carroll County, in the northwest North Carolina under a flash flood watch until 9 a.m. Tomorrow. And the feeling is there could just be a lot of rain that'll saturate the ground and cause those problems. Here's the high resolution NAM. I'm going to go to the 18Z run because that just came in as I was setting up my live stream here. So the areas of rain are moving in right now. There's Roanoke, there's Martinsville, there's Danville. Coming in mainly as light to moderate rain, becoming heavy at times after midnight or so. We start to get these heavier storms developing by midnight, by 1 a.m. across the Roanoke Valley area, New River Valley area, and you can see Lonesome Pine out toward Bristol, and then areas around Knoxville, Tennessee. The main line already starts to move in. I can't rule out that any of these cells will produce wind damage because there's so much wind aloft, but there's also going to be potential rotation coming in at the same time. So I don't want you to get too hung up on early tomorrow morning in terms of that 4 to noon or 2 a.m. to noon time frame. You could at 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning tomorrow, we could have a tornado warning with some of these storms. So just know that through the night tonight, it's a threat, and then especially tomorrow morning. You go advance the radar here, you can see this line moving on in, some supercellular curl-looking signatures here on the composite here. You've got just a lot of rain, at least according to the model. Now, if the modeling is right, some of this could just be rain with an embedded gusty thunderstorm. But even those gusty storms, again, will produce the damage. I'm looking at this at 7 a.m. and at 8 a.m. It really intensifies here. I'm seeing this 18Z run for the first time through the Roanoke Valley and through the western Piedmont of North Carolina. Some very high echoes here, and you can see little notches here. That's where the modeling is actually picking up on some of the rotation. Now, by 9 a.m., you've got it through Charlottesville and Stanton, going through Bedford County and Martinsville and Danville. And now these are starting to look like what I call discrete supercells, where they're breaking apart from the main line and they're forming their own thunderstorms individually. These are the really bad ones that can produce a lot of damage. You can also get the we'll call the spin-ups or whatever within the main line that can do a lot of damage as well. But these are the more classic looking supercells that we see out across the Midwest. And then as we go through the mid-morning hours, maybe a lull, and then more activity developing off to the east. It's interesting that the model kind of dissipates that fairly rapidly. It could be shifting it north into DC. So the DC area probably shouldn't ignore this either, all the way up through, again, Pennsylvania. But that's 8 a.m. tomorrow on the computer model. If I look at, I wanted to show you one more thing before I leave for right now. This is rainfall through the night tonight. You can see that most of the showers are fairly light tonight. We get up to about 1/3 of an inch of rain by midnight in some areas, but definitely after midnight, these thunderstorms coming in, and through the morning on Monday, some of the modeling here, and I'm looking at this too for the first time with the 18Z run, showing over 4 inches of rain, and that's right where the Weather Service, I don't think, has it up for Allegheny County, but the flash flood watch does include up to 4 inches of rain. But some of these darker areas right through there, Apple Orchard Mountain, I believe, is where that's at, Bedford County, Big Island, then going through Carroll County, and right against the Blue Ridge Parkway. Western Franklin County, Floyd County, modeling is showing 4 to 6 to locally more than 6. It looks like about 7.5 inches of rain, some of these areas. So there could be a lot of rain and a lot of flooding on top of the wind and the flood threat through the morning tomorrow anyway. So after lunchtime, hopefully things will be quieting down, but we may have to worry about rising rivers as well. So that's your update for right now. I'm going to get some dinner. Let me first update you on the national picture because this has changed. I've got a tornado emergency. Yep, tornado emergency in effect. This is south of Jackson. Yes, north. It's to the northwest of Columbia, Mississippi. A large and destructive tornado is located near Tilton, 11 miles north of Kokomo, moving northeast at 45. Tornado emergency for that area. Society Hill, Bunker Hill, Carson by 4:15. So this cell right here has a confirmed tornado with it. This is down across southern Mississippi to get your bearings here. But I don't see warnings like this. You know, a regular tornado warning shows up as red. A reported tornado is in purple. And when I have the black line in the middle, that's the most serious. That's a tornado emergency in effect down across southern Mississippi. There are other tornado report warnings coming in around, well, unfortunately, just to the west of Tuscaloosa and also in the eastern Mississippi. This is going to be the theme throughout the night tonight. And there's your SPC risk. I'm going to get rid of the goes there. That's kind of a look at everything. And then if I loop that, you can see where the activity is going. Let me put the regular radar back on here for you. So there you go. I'm thinking about providing on my YouTube a raw feed as I'm sleeping through the night, so anybody around the country can tune in and get the radar picture looping for you there. So I might be setting that up here pretty soon. All right, that's the latest for right now. The next update coming at about 6:30 this evening.